If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Connor.
Welcome to the show, Jay. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here to talk about what I'm so passionate about, that being able to raise unlimited funding and private money for your real estate deals without ever having to ask for money. Thank you so much for having me.
This is awesome, Jay, because I know that many people, they are curious and they are waiting to hear from you how to raise all this private money. I know that there are people that are sitting on the sideline. They want to get into real estate because of fun, they couldn't. But today, they are going to hear from you. They will listen to your perspective on how to do that. So can you tell us, how do we raise private money?
Yeah. So what led me up to private money and using private money is when I first started investing, and by the way, my focus has been on single family houses. Now, this private money is the same money, whether you're using it for single family houses, commercial, apartments, small apartments, duplexes, or just single family houses. It's all the same structure of the deals. So my wife, Carol Joy, she's also from Texas, like you. We started investing in single family houses all the way back in 2003 here in our small market. And from 2003 until 2009, the first 6 years that we were in the business, here's what I did. I went to the local bank. I got on my hands and knees. I put my hands underneath my chin. I said, please fund my deal. And of course, the banker would make me pull up my skirt so that they could see my personal assets and give me a colonoscopy and pull my credit and make me, cough up financial statements. Well, I had to do all that stuff. I had to jump through all those hoops for the first 6 years. But then everything changed in January of 2009. In January of 2009, after being in this business for 6 years, I called up my banker. He and I have been doing business for 6 years. I called him up, and I had 2 houses under contract to buy. And so I'm talking to my banker. His name was Steve. I told him about these 2 houses, and just like that over the phone, I learned that they had shut down my line of credit at the bank and had given me no notice whatsoever.
Wow.
And I said to Steve, Steve, what in the world are you saying? You've closed my line of credit with no notice to me. And Steve says, Jay, don't you know there's a global financial crisis going on right now? I said, no, but you just gave me a global financial crisis because now I don't have a way to fund these 2 deals. And so anyway, I hung up the phone with Steve, and I'm going to share with your audience right now a very, very powerful question that I asked myself. And this question that I ask will help anybody fix any problem they've got. I don't care if it's financial, relationships, health, career, doesn't matter. And here's the question I asked myself when Steve notified me I'd been cut off from the bank. Oh, by the way, these people running around saying every problem is an opportunity. I want to throw up. I didn't have an opportunity. I had a problem, right? Let's face reality. I had a problem. 2 deals under contract, no way to fund them. So here's the question I want to share that I asked myself. And the power's in questions, the right questions. And here it is. I said, Jay, there's the powerful word, who do you know that can help you with your problem? And I immediately, when I asked myself that question, I immediately thought of a dear friend of ours, Jeff Blankenship. He was living in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time, and he was investing in single family houses. I said, well, maybe Jeff can help me out. So I picked up the phone, I called Jeff, and I told Jeff what had just happened with me getting cut off from the bank. And Jeff says, well, Jay, welcome to the club. I said, what club is that? He said, the club of having the bank shut you down. He said, my bank shut me down last week. I said, well, Jeff, how are you going to fund your real estate deals? He said, well, have you ever heard of private money and private lending? I said, no, what's that? He says, well, that's when an individual loans money to a real estate investor, either from their investment capital and or from their retirement funds, and funds your deals. I said, no, I never heard of that. And he wasn't talking about hard money, and I never even heard about hard money back then. And he says, well, have you ever heard of self-directed IRAs? I said, no. What's a self-directed IRA? He said, well, a self-directed IRA is a third-party custodian. It's a company approved by the IRS that allows individuals to move current retirement funds, say from the stock market or from a previous 401k, over to the self-directed IRA company with no tax effect. And then they can loan that money to us real estate investors. And the money that you pay them is either tax deferred or tax free.
Wow.
I said, Jeff, I know I've never heard of what you're talking about. So anyway, Jeff and I continued the conversation. He told me more about what private money is and how it works. And so here's what I did. I hung up the phone, and the first thing I did was I put my program together. Now, what in the world do I mean by that? My program, my opportunity that I first was going to go about here in my local area where we live and expose and offer this opportunity to people in my own connections, people I go to church with, people in my cell phone, people at the Rotary Club, etc., and just let them know about private money. And so the first thing I had to do, and this is one of the first questions I get asked all the time, is, Jay, how do you start? How do you start raising private money? Well, the first thing you got to do is get your mindset right. You got to own the real estate in between your ears before you start going out and buying and selling real estate using private money. So what did I do? Well, here's what I did. I put on my teacher hat.
Great money teacher.
I put on my teacher hat. And my teacher hat says private money teacher. So I set myself up as an expert, as being able to offer an opportunity and information to people in my own connections that had never heard about private money. Here's what's interesting. Today, Carol Joy and I have got 47 individuals, just like you and me, regular people. These are not like high-profile people, regular people like you and me. I got 47 private lenders that are funding our real estate deals, either using their investment capital, just liquid funds, and or their retirement funds. And you know what's interesting? Not one of these people had ever heard of private money or private lending or self-directed IRAs until I put on my teacher hat and I started teaching them about this opportunity. Now, here's a very, very important part of the system that I created that's critical to understand. It's very important to understand to separate the conversations between teaching the opportunity as to what a private lender is, what kind of rates of return you can earn, how to get your money back in case of an emergency, and not having any deal attached to it. Because here's a writer downer. Desperation has got a smell to it. Desperation. The worst time to be raising private money is when you need it for a deal. So if you lead with a servant's heart, exposing people and teaching people about this opportunity of what private money is, how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely, then they tell you how much they got, and then I come back and give them a deal to fund. And here's what's interesting. I've never pitched a deal in my life. So I'm going to share right now the exact script, how I get my real estate deals funded without ever asking for the money. And then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Bola. So here's the way it works. In fact, let's just do a little role play. So
Okay.
let's say, Bola, that you are one of my new private lenders. I've taught you the program. And, let's say, you and I have known each other for a while. We're friends. Maybe we go to church together, whatever. We got some kind of connection.
That's right.
And so I've told you about the program. I've taught you that I'm going to pay 8%. You love the interest rate because you only get 3.5 or 3.75 at the local bank. I pay 8%. I've taught you how you can get your money back early in case of an emergency. I've taught you what the maximum loan to value is and all that. And you love it. And so in our conversation, in our visit, you love the program, you want to get involved, and you tell me that you've got $150,000, hypothetically speaking. Let's say you got $150,000 sitting in the stock market as a retirement fund, say at Charles Schwab or Guardian or Edward Jones or wherever, and you're not happy with the volatility of those funds.
Right.
So I've introduced you to a self-directed IRA company that I respect and I recommend, and you've moved those funds over with no tax penalty and wanting to invest with me. Perfect. You've done that. It took a couple of weeks. Now, here's the script. Bola, I told you that I would put your money to work for you just as soon as possible when you were moving those funds over. So let's assume you've moved the funds over. You've told me, you've called me up. You've said, Jay, the funds are ready. I'm ready to go. I say, great. I'm going to put your money to work for you just as soon as possible. So I call you up. I know it's hard to believe, but we still have landlines here in North Carolina with cords attached to them. But I call you up and you say hello. We have a little chit chat. Here's the exact script on getting the deal funded. I say, I have got great news for you, Bola. I can now put your money to work. I've got a house under contract in Newport with an after repaired value of $200,000. Now the funding required for the deal is $150,000. That matches up to what you have in the self-directed IRA company.
Right.
And closing is going to be next Tuesday. So I'm going to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. You'll need to have your funds wired to my real estate attorney's trust account by next Monday.
Right.
That's the end of the conversation. I mean,
That's
that's it. I mean, the most stupid thing I could ask you is, do you want to fund the deal? Of course you want to fund the deal.
Yeah.
And there's three big reasons why you want to fund the deal. Number one, you've moved your retirement funds over to the self-directed IRA company that I recommended. And so you're not making any money until I put your money to work. Secondly, I'm not going to bring any deal for you to fund unless it matches the criteria of the program that I already taught you. Notice in that little script, I said I got an after repaired value of $200,000 on this house. The funding required is $150,000. Well, that's 75% of the after repaired value. I didn't say 75% of the purchase price. That's why I'm always able to bring home a big check when I buy. Who wants to get paid to buy houses, right? So it matches their criteria. And I told you previously, I'll put your money to work for you just as soon as possible. So I'm just fulfilling what I promised you to do. So let me take a second and unpack what I said, and I'm going to turn it back to you.
okay.
So first of all, separate the conversations. You know, I've never pitched a deal. And by the way, I know you've heard educators say what I'm getting ready to say, and I want to go run into a brick wall like the Kool-Aid character when I hear this. It drives me crazy. Have you ever heard the educators say, oh, just get the deal under contract. The money will show up. You ever heard that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to throw up. It's like, where is the money going to show up? Is it like going to, like rain down on clouds or something? It's like, oh, have you heard them say this? The money always finds a good deal. Just get it under contract. The money always. Has money got legs?
No
Has money got a brain?
way.
I mean, money is neutral. So it just makes sense to me. I mean, think about how much more confident You're going to make offers on deals when you got the money lined up, ready to go, and you can close on any deal in 7 days with private money. So that's just sort of an overview of what happens first, what happens second, what happens third, and it just takes the stress out of real estate investing.
Oh, wow. Jay, this is amazing, I must tell you. If even if we end the episode right here, I know people will benefit. But let's try to unpack this. So let's say I'm the private lender, and you are right. You put, let's say, 8%. I don't know if that's your standard rate.
Yeah, it is. It
Okay.
is.
That's higher than what the bank would pay me today. So
Yes.
check, that means I'm earning more. Now, I'm thinking about this. What is the typical duration, the length of the loan that you get from
Yeah.
this private money lender?
Typically, it's 2 years.
2 years?
Typically, it's 2 years. So, this world of private money is very, very different than hard money,
Yeah.
And
I was
I
going
never,
to ask you the difference between hard money and private money.
yeah, that's and the list is long, right? But and I'll answer that. But we're doing business with individuals,
Okay.
and as you said, that 8% is a whole lot higher than like they could get at the bank. But anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
So yeah, if I'm making 8%, that means I'll now be paying back the loan that I got from my self-directed IRA. That's correct?
Correct.
8% every year. So
Right. And that's an annual percentage rate, just like you said.
yeah,
Yes.
so that is good for the investor that is putting money on you. But now the next thing that I'm thinking about is how often or how many private lenders do you have to reach out to in order to raise fund?
Well, I haven't had to in many years because I just keep using the money over and over and over again. That's another great benefit about private money. It's like when you like I rehab most deals. We've rehabbed, renovated over 500 houses here in our local area since 2003. And so the private lender, they don't want their money back. If they get their money back, they're
Yeah.
not earning any money, right? They just want to keep using it. So I'll either pay off the private lender when we're cashing out. So I'll buy the house, renovate it, put it on the market, and then I'll either cash them out or I'll do what's called a substitution of collateral. And we
Mhm.
do this all the time because the private lenders, they don't want the money back. So if that note is still open and the
Yeah.
note has not come due yet, if I have another property, because you see, I don't borrow unsecured funds, we collateralize every note with
Mm.
the real estate, with the property, right? All these single family houses that we do is called one-offs,
Mhm.
one-offs. So
Right.
that means the SEC does not regulate this, right? So we don't have to worry about the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission. And all these one-offs, see, I'm not raising money for a fund, right? I'm not syndicating. I'm not raising money for a syndication. I've got a single family house and a private lender, maybe a couple of private lenders, and each of them have their own promissory note. They each have their own deed of trust. Here in North Carolina's deed of trust.
Mhm.
Texas is a deed of trust.
Mhm.
Most states call it a mortgage.
Mm.
And if you don't pay them as the borrower, they get the property. That's the protection. That's the
Yeah.
protection to the private lender. But back to the substitutions of collateral. If I pay off the private lender and cash out on a property, if I have another property right behind it,
Mhm.
ready to go,
Right.
then we'll keep the promissory note open, which is what the private lender wants. They want to keep earning money. They don't
Right.
want their money back. They want to live off of their money. And if they've loaned me retirement funds, the interest payments are going directly to their retirement account,
Mhm.
growing their retirement account. And so if I've cashed out, I got another property to go, then I'll have my real estate attorney draw up a substitution of collateral, which is also known as a loan modification. and the
Mm-hmm.
private lender will have to sign off that we're substituting the collateral, and then we will keep that promissory note open so they can keep earning money.
So let me ask you this. How often do you pay back the private money lender? Is it monthly, quarterly, or maybe one time every year?
I leave it up to them.
Okay.
So I don't have a preference. And here's why I leave it up to them. Different private lenders have got different objectives, right? So I
Right.
want to serve. I want to serve my private lenders based on what their needs are. I have some elderly private lenders that are relying on the monthly income.
Right.
So they'll loan out their investment capital. They need and want that monthly check coming in, right? And that's
Right.
fine because look, I'm bringing home a big check when I buy, so I can use part of that initial check to cash flow their monthly payments. Now, the only way this works is if I'm buying properties at deep discounts. And I do. I buy properties at deep discounts because they need renovation, right? So some need monthly payments. If they're loaning money from their retirement account, I never make monthly payments because that money's not going back directly to them. It's going in their retirement account. And I never make principal and interest payments. It's interest only, either interest only payments or interest only accruing, right? And that's a win for the borrower and that's a win for the lender. It's a win for us to borrow because interest only payments are smaller than
Right.
principal and interest payments. And it's a win for the lender. The private lender makes more money over time because they're keeping all of their money invested and not having the principal paid down. Now, if I'm borrowing the money from a retirement account, I only do that quarterly,
Okay.
quarterly interest.
Okay.
And with some of our lenders, I can structure the deal to where I don't make any interest payments at all. If I'm renovating and rehabbing and I'm on cash out, say in maybe 9 months, 6 months, 9 months, I can just let the interest accrue. And when I cash out the house, pay off all their principal and all the accrued interest, and then go do another deal. So
No, that's
stop and think about what that does for your cash flow. Follow this. You
true.
buy a house,
Mhm.
you take none of your own money to the closing table, never. You bring home a big check from closing because you're always able to borrow more than you need to purchase it.
Mhm.
I make no payments to the private lender until we cash out the deal. You think that'll help you cash flow? Absolutely. As
Yeah.
long as you know where to find these deals and how to negotiate them and buy them right.
And that would be my next question. I heard you talk about deep discounts, and of
Yes.
course, we said off-market deals. How do you find them?
Yeah. Well, they're not in the multiple listing service for sure.
Uh-huh.
That's why they're off market. You know,
Mhm.
I haven't bought a single family house in the multiple listing service since COVID
Wow.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing in the multiple listing service, but we have no inventory. Here in my area, you put a house in the multiple listing service to sell it, and it's in great condition, like our houses. I
It's
mean, multiple offers, right? So, how do we find these off market houses? Well, we have multiple ways to do it, but I'll tell you my most consistent way to find them is by using Google search vendors.
yeah.
So, there's pay per click and there's pay per lead. Here's the difference. If you're doing Google pay per click, then you set up your account with Google and you got to know what the search terms are. I got 75 different search terms for people to be looking for in Google, and they want to sell their house fast. They are motivated sellers. Either their lives are personally distressed or the property's distressed or both, right? And so pay per click means you're paying Google per click,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
I don't do pay per click. I don't do pay per click. I
Yeah.
do pay per lead. So
People.
I've got 7 different vendors that
Mhm.
I pay, and I pay them per lead. So I let them be the expert. I
Mhm.
let them be the expert on getting me these leads, and I got, protected territory. So
Mhm.
I only get the leads to these deals in my area. I don't have to compete with other real estate investors. And so, as long as you've got consistent seller leads from motivated sellers coming into your marketing, you got a business and not a hobby. So that was a long answer to a short answer. The most consistent way we get motivated seller leads, I've already gotten 3 this morning
Wow.
already, is
Wow.
from Google pay per lead vendor services.
So are you teaching people how to do this?
Of course.
Okay, awesome. Because I know many of my listeners, they will want to connect with you and learn how to do this. I know there are people out there that really, really want to get into real estate, but money has always been their barrier. So this will be a service that my listeners will benefit from. Can you tell us one of your most profitable deal that you've closed?
Sure, just a few months ago. So I live here in Morehead City, North Carolina, small area. Our total population that we um, target is only 40,000 people. We do 2 to 3 deals a month. Average profits are $86,000 per deal. But I don't share that to brag. I do not share that to brag. I share that to make a point. And that is, there's an argument to be made to be a big fish in a small pond, dominate the market instead of competing in those large cities. So you asked me to share a recent deal. Well, this deal I'll share with you, it blows my average out the water. My net after realtor commissions and carrying costs was $161,000. But
Oh.
here's how it happened.
Mhm.
So a few months ago, a lead came in from one of our Google vendors, and it was so across the high-rise bridge from Morehead City, North Carolina, is Atlantic Beach. And Atlantic Beach sits on a 22-mile island in the southern tip of the Outer Banks.
Mhm.
So this lead comes in, and the owner owns this condominium, an oceanfront condominium on the top floor of the
Mhm.
condominium complex.
Right.
And he was motivated to sell for a number of reasons. Number one, it was inherited from his parents. Both of his parents had passed away. So it was inherited property, and he didn't have any use of the property. He lived out of state. There's
Right.
another layer of motivation, out of state owner. And third motivation is the property is going to sell at foreclosure on the courthouse steps in 2 weeks of him contacting us.
Right.
So he was highly motivated and needed to move quickly. So anyway, he contacted us and we talked to him. We put the condominium under contract for $425,000. $425,000. It was totally furnished with luxury furniture. And when you were in the living room and looking out, you looked like you're in a cruise ship,
Wow.
looking at the ocean. Beautiful. The total renovation only cost $11,000, and that was for interior paint and some sheetrock repair. So I was able to buy it, put it back on the market, all within less than 6 weeks. I sold it. I put it on the market, had multiple offers right away. I sold it sight unseen for $618,000.
That is
Bought
all.
it for 425,
Mhm.
put 11,000 in rehab in it. Now here's the secret. That's one big reason I love private money. You can close fast.
Right.
So I closed that deal in 7 days
Wow.
from talking to him. That's because the private money lender was ready to wire the funds and close the deal. Plus we had the courthouse sale coming up that we had to get around as well. So we netted on that deal, even after realtor fees of putting it on the market. My realtor fee was right at $30,000.
Mhm.
We netted $161,000. And the reason we were able to do it was because of the deals coming in, the leads coming in from our marketing, and having the private money ready to close, ready to go.
Awesome. So what's your top advice for anyone looking to build wealth through real estate? What would you tell them to do?
Work with somebody that knows what they're doing, for goodness sakes. Maybe it's Bola, maybe it's somebody local, right? Maybe it's me, whoever, but don't make the mistake that I did in 2003. All I did was leverage my previous experience in the mobile home manufactured housing business. I read a few books, but I really didn't get a mentor or a coach to really work with me. So don't make the mistake that I did. Get somebody to work with you that knows what they're doing, and it'll save you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, that is so good. So, Jay, we are coming to the end of this show. I try to keep it short so that my listeners can get actionable instructions from this episode. Now, in the beginning, you told me that you have a gift for my listeners, and it's your book, Where to Get the Money Now. Can you please tell us more so that my listeners
Sure.
can go there and find your book?
Absolutely. This is a bestseller. It's on Amazon. It's called Where to Get the Money Now. And don't spend money on Amazon. I'm going to show you how you can get the book itself for free. But the subtitle is How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. And I'll autograph the book for you. I'll send it to you express mail. And you can get it at www.jayconner.com/book. That's J Conner with an ER, not an OR, JAYCONNER.com/book. And there's a gold medallion up here in the right-hand corner of the book. The book also comes with 2 tickets to my $3,000 live event, but I'm going to send you the tickets, called the Private Money Conference. So I'll also invite you to my Private Money Conference live event, and I'll rush that right out. This will get you great foundation, get you started, very easy to read. Again, it's jayconner.com/book, and I'll rush it right out.
Thank you, Jay. I'll be sure to leave the link in my show notes so that my listeners can connect with you. I appreciate all your wealth of experience, the knowledge, the information that you have shared with us today. I'm confident that my listeners, they will find this really beneficial. Thank you for your time, Jay.
Thank you so much. God bless.
God bless you too.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/moneyguide. That's JCONNER.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jayconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay.